Filler, a word that if you're like me and have been around the anime block for a while, probably just gave you some Vietnam-like flashbacks. Remembering the dozens of episodes you watched that had nothing to do with the main plot of the story, and once those episodes or even arcs ended, to then never have a single word mentioned about those events by anyone in the story ever again. At one point in time, filler was so synonymous with anime before you watched any series, you would have to Google if there was any filler, and if there was filler, what episodes were they so that you could just skip them. Now, if you're someone who started watching anime recently, you probably have no idea what filler is. So what is filler? Well, filler is empty calories. They're episodes used to fill in the gaps of canonical episodes until the source material, aka manga, can get far enough ahead again for the anime to go back to making the canonical episodes again. And when it came to making filler episodes, two of the most egregious offenders were Naruto and Bleach. God, it's so bad. I mean, Naruto has a total of 279 episodes of filler in the whole series. That's over 5 years of weekly useless episodes. While Bleach, on the other hand, not only had filler episodes, but has 6 whole filler arcs as short as 9 episodes and as long as 44 episodes. For context, Naruto has 720 total episodes, while the original run of Bleach has 366 episodes. This means that for Naruto, 1 out of every 3 episodes is useless, while Bleach, on the other hand, 1 out of every 2 episodes is useless. So as you can see, filler was a real problem. So now let us first ask the question, why did anime studios make filler content in the first place? There are multiple reasons. A, to keep the series relevant in pop culture, as word of mouth was still the best way to stay relevant at the time, so having a new weekly episode would keep people talking about a series. B, merch. Being able to sell the fans their favorite characters in various different original outfits that appeared in the anime, along with selling new anime original characters as well. And see that TV money, baby. So for those of you who don't know, the way TV stations pay certain series is on a per episode basis, especially when it comes to series where they don't know how many episodes there are going to be in a season. And so that means when the anime catches up to the manga, they need to keep producing episodes, because if not, that means they will not be getting paid as much that week from advertisers for what would have been a new episode. Now, yes, they will still be getting money from reruns, but reruns never make as much as new episodes because new will always have more people watching, which means that advertisers would be willing to pay more to get an ad spot on that new episode, which is why they threw out filler. And yes, even though the content of the filler is BS and useless, it's still new and could still be a fun, good episode, or just pure fan service that does nothing for the actual plot, but more people are still going to tune in to watch the new stuff instead of a rerun of an episode they've already seen before. So now let's ask the question, what killed something that had always been a part of anime? Well, there are 3 things that really took filler behind the shed. That's streaming, gacha games, and Attack on Titan. So how did these 3 things lead to the burial of filler? Well, let's start off with streaming. So as streaming would become more and more popular, and nowadays essentially the best way to watch anime, it would in turn change the way anime studios look at TV stations. Because for the TV stations, the main way they make their money and pay people is from advertisers. So since less and less people would be watching live TV, this would lead to advertisers not willing to pay as much for an ad spot on TV stations, and instead willing to pay that much on streaming platforms instead, which would mean less money to pay the anime studios for the episodes. So since advertisers would start paying streaming services more, streaming services would then start being able to pay the anime studios to legally have the rights to have that anime on their sites. So with this new and possibly better revenue source, anime studios would then make a bit of a pivot, because previously the only way to legally watch a new anime episode was through live TV. But when anime studios also pivoted into streaming, they would then start having new episodes be available on streaming as well as on the TV. Because back in the day, anime studios would only throw up a series on Netflix or Hulu that was already finished airing, not one that was currently airing. So how does this contribute to the end of filler? Well, that's because of how streaming services pay series. So unlike TV, which pays on the back end of a per episode basis for a lot of series, streaming services pay for the license of the series up front. It would mean making filler episodes would not make them any money from making them. Plus, streaming services don't want filler, as I believe most streaming services don't even bother including the filler episodes on their platforms either, so it would really be a waste of resources to make them. So that's how streaming helped contribute to the end of filler. The next culprit in this case is everyone's favorite virtual waifu and husbando casino in your pocket, gacha games. So how did a casino that you carry around with you 24/7 possibly kill filler? Well, if you've ever bothered to watch filler, and if you've ever played a gacha game, you would notice something. All the BS content they will use in a filler episode, such as traveling, holidays, vacation, flashbacks, dream sequences, and etc., are now being used as content in gacha games that are typically rebranded as events, slapped alongside a new rate-up banner featuring a new character or characters, and throw in some $20 to $40 special skins, but depending upon the character or characters, will have some to most not only rolling for them, but also buying the skin or skins, and it just becomes laughable how much more profitable these gacha games are than whatever filler episode the anime studio could even think up and then have aired on TV. Considering that there haven't been not one, but multiple gacha games that have made well over $1 billion. While on the other hand, I ain't never heard of an anime studio making over $1 billion from filler episodes. So in short, all the resources that were used to make a bunch of filler and receive some money from it can now be turned into a limited time event with a new rate-up banner, with someone's favorite character in a swimsuit, costume, or holiday theme apparel or non-canon wackiness, along with some $20+ skins, can now potentially make anywhere from tens of thousands to tens of millions, or even sometimes over $100 million off a single banner. So yeah, that's how gacha games help contribute to the end of filler. And the last and final culprit is So how in the hell does Attack on Titan possibly contribute to the death of filler? Well, let me explain. You see, Attack on Titan changed how the anime formula worked. Remember how I mentioned earlier one of the important reasons for filler was because it kept the series relevant? Well, back in the olden years of 2013 to 2014, the most relevant anime series in the world was Attack on Titan. And even with the massive success it was, it did not release its next season until 2017 to 2018. So a whole 4 years later, with the only Attack on Titan anime being released between the two seasons was 2 movies, 10 OVAs, some special episodes, along with a chibi spin-off series, and that's all a starving anime Attack on Titan fans had. And guess what happened when season 2 came out? It picked up right where it left off and was the talk of not just the anime world, but the whole world in general. Because also in them 4 years, anime had become more popular than ever and was something you could say you watched out loud in the open instead of inside of a locker. So what did this show everyone? Well, it was the final straw for the existence of filler, as Attack on Titan just showed that filler was an absolute waste of time, resources, and money to stay relevant, which is one of the most important things for any media entity, is staying relevant. So now with Attack on Titan officially wiping its ass with that notion, filler was out here wobbling like its last name was Somali, and Attack on Titan finished it with something that really does not get talked about, and that's how it went from 25 episodes in season 1 to then never having more than 16 episodes in a season, and why this in hindsight is a really big deal, because at this point in time the only series that really did the 12 to 13 episode thing was light novels, not manga, because light novels could tell their entire story in 12 to 13 episodes, whereas manga, just to tell a single arc, could easily take 30+ episodes. So why was this a big deal? Well, it simply made it to where anime studios could turn 6 months worth of content into about 1 to 2 years worth of content, which is huge, as this would make it so that the canonical content would last twice if not 4 times as long, and have it to where the source material is always far enough in front of the anime that they wouldn't catch it, so in turn entirely erasing the need for filler. And this formula change Attack on Titan did was so massive, the aftermath of it is still heavily felt to this day. Like, you know how I mentioned Bleach earlier? Well, when Bleach made its comeback, it went from 30+ episode seasons to less than 15 episode seasons. Even though Bleach is finished and they could easily do a 40+ episode season, they choose not to. Another anime series that fits this criteria is Tower of God, a series with over 1,500 chapters, where if they released a new episode every single day, it would still take them over 5 years to catch up to the manga, and as of right now, they are doing less than 15 episode seasons. Why? That's because the framework Attack on Titan laid out for everyone was just so good. Now, there are of course anime that still do the 20+ episode thing, and I love them for that, but they are now the exception and not the rule. Plus, with seasons being less than 16 episodes, there is little to no room for filler either, and that's how Attack on Titan was the final lightning bolt that struck the toad. So that's how filler met its demise, because streaming services affected the ratings that TV stations would get, which in turn would have advertisers pay less for ad spots on that program and pay that towards streaming platforms instead, which caused anime studios to also pivot towards streaming, as streaming services were paying them up front for the license to the series and not on the back end of a per episode basis like TV, and streaming services were not showing the filler episodes as well, while gacha games were blowing up, becoming much more profitable than whatever a filler episode could possibly make, then shifted whatever resources that would be put into a filler episode into content on the gacha games instead, and then Attack on Titan changed how everyone played the game, like how Steph changed the way everyone shoots a 3-ball, by showing that filler was useless and did nothing to keep a series relevant, and that instead of burning the candle faster by using a blowtorch and making a 20+ episode season, why not just make it less than 17 episodes a season and make it stretch, which in turn put filler 10 feet deep, as now there was definitely no room for it anymore. And with these 3 things, it was 3 strikes and filler was out of there. So yeah, that is how something that used to be taped to anime's back like a kick me sign one day just vanished like the Avatar. So before I go ahead and wrap this video up, I do just kind of want to say that it does get deeper than this, but I didn't feel like going into the minutia of how streaming services, what streaming services main revenue source is, or the TV stations, how all their contracts were. I didn't feel like going into the minutia because I mostly wanted to keep this video focused on filler and just filler. So I kind of just did like a general thing of like, oh, this is the main reason, but this minutia can go deeper, but I feel like it would have took away from the video. And that's pretty much it. So with that, I do hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all the whole YouTube stuff, you know the deal. Share with your cat, dog, tree, fucking uncle, friend, we know the deal. We've done this before, we've been here before, you've watched videos, you've used YouTube before. Anyway, that's all I got. I'm gone.